Three, two, one, pickles. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Razor from Razor 2, coming at you with some Rust Council pre-order beta, best base locations, and more news today. And what we're going to be talking about is the best base locations you can have in Rust for a beginner, just so you can get ahead of those advanced players, or if everybody's just starting out, kind of get a step ahead of all the new players inside of Rust. I'm your boy Razor from RazorTube. If you guys are new to the channel, drop those subs and likes, and let's talk about the best base location spots that you can throw up your very first base inside of Rust Council Edition or the pre-order beta. Alright, so why is it important to know the best base location spots in Rust? Well, I can tell you this right now, why it's important, and it boils down to one answer: progression. So Rust is a game of progression. Over time, as you play through a wipe, you're trying to compete with other players in this open world survival game in order to get ahead of them. Well, this video will give you time to do that, because I'm going to give you the information you need as a very first beginning Rust player, and give you kind of helpful tips and tricks on where to build a base. And some of the best base locations, I think, in Rust are available. So, what is a Rust map typically look like? Well, it varies in sizes. You can be like 2.5K to 4K size maps. It has a variety of monuments on it that you can loot, right? So, and there's different types of monuments that you can loot, and some of them require access cards and electrical fuses. Some of them you can just loot freely, and they're highly contested. And there's also monuments to help you out as a player. So I'm going to help you with teaching you where to build in the best base locations for a beginner player. So this can apply to veteran players as well, or people who think they're experienced. But let's just break it down real quick. Alright, so typically this is what your overarching Rust map looks like. You have kind of a forest biome, you have the winter biome, and the desert biome. And of course you have the coastline with, you know, a variety of stuff. And now do remember, I am playing on the PC, so I can't stream any of the Rust Council beta at all because NDA guidelines, which you guys should be following anyways. But okay, let's break down some of the most and best base locations where you could build. Alright, so if you want to be a beginner and kind of learn gradually and kind of break yourself in to the game of Rust slowly, some of the best base locations that you want to build are the Outpost or around Bandit Camp. Now, do remember that these maps are procedurally generated, so typically they won't be in the same spot. Like in this case, we got the Outpost in the top in the north, Bandit Camp in the south, and I'll kind of, just by basing it off of this map, I'm going to go through my thought process on where I would want to build, just to let you guys know how somebody who has thousands of hours of Rust thinks. So, alright, now do remember I am on my own server, so I have admin basically commands. So I'm gonna fly around the map to make this video a little bit quicker for you guys. So you know, don't judge. I gotta, you know, try to move across the land fast and show you, but typically I'd show you footage of the different biomes and just put it together. But this is better, I think, because we can kind of go and hover above stuff and check it out. Alright, so I want to go to the Outpost. So do remember, on your map you can always put a ping down where you want to go and mark it. Alright, so when you're first trying to build a base in Rust and you ask yourself, okay, where do I build? Where are the safest spots for beginner players? Well, there's two places that come to mind for me, and that's the Bandit Camp and the Outpost. Why is that, you say? Because they both have a safe zone that actually goes around the entire thing. And what does that mean? So, in hindsight, 2020, you don't want to get killed in Rust. Whoop, see, there we go. You don't want to get killed in Rust, but you want to be able to kind of freely loot and whatnot. And this is the Outpost in general. I've done a video about it in the past, but you can just see everything from the inside, anywhere from you got recyclers down here, you have vending machines that render resources, components, and whatnot down here at the shop. There's signs that designate what you can use for utility here. So this is a pretty good spot. Now, why is it important and why is this one of the best base locations? So when you're setting up your very first base, do remember you have to do two things. A, you have to make it out of the newbie zone alive first, right? Which is like somewhere on the map you would spawn in the green zone. It'd be like way off to the coast and you got to run all the way to the top. That means you have to get 30 cloth per sleeping bag and lay sleeping bags all the way across the land, because you know you're going to get smoked on wipe day, and you're going to have to respawn on these bags every time you die just to get to this point, or this point rather. So, okay, I'm getting off track. I don't want to, go on a tangent. So why is it important to build around the outpost? Well, one of two things. A, all the resources around it you can loot freely, so you got all these little nodes. And B, all the components you can gather by, let me just get this weapon real quick. Where are you? Where is it? Oh, come on, give it to me. Where's the paddle? Perfect. Okay, now you have a lot of these barrels around the mountain, right? So you can get scrap and materials. And let's just say when I build my base, and now do remember this, always build on high ground. Never build in a ravine, never build in a canyon. I think when you have people that are able to shoot from top down on you, you're going to have a problem. So in this case, let's just say we built up on A here. This would be one of the best base locations ever. Typically around the outpost, you have a lot of resources like, trees, you got your stone, metal, sulfur, which is down here. And in order to farm that, you need like a stone pick or a rock, right? So, or a stone hatchet too as well. So what you're going to do is you'd build a base here. And the reason why you want to build a base here is because this entire monument has junk piles around it, meaning you can farm that, go to the recycler inside. So, like I hit that barrel earlier. Whoop, get rid of my weapon. I hit that barrel earlier. I ended up getting some scrap and some pants. But over time, when you collect these junk piles, you're going to get like more scrap, more components and whatnot. And you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, where do I take this? Well, take it to your base around the outpost, because it has a invisible barrier around it that if you bring a weapon inside of the outpost, you're gonna get killed. And not to mention that I don't know how long the turrets range are from the outpost, but if you build on the outside of it and somebody kills you and they accidentally run through this invisible barrier, they're gonna get killed, and basically it's done. So you'd farm these barrels, collect stuff, and be like, okay, I got my stuff, I'm gonna take it to my base up here, whatever. So say like, little Timmy comes out, it's like 10 o'clock at night, his mom went to bed, and he's like, I'm gonna play some Rust and just murk some people. And he has a base over here down by the launch site, and he's coming over here to pick on some people close to the outpost that are new to the game. Well, if you build your base on the high ground and you're farming these junk piles, let's just say little Timmy shot you with an LR, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna grab your loot, but you're not quite dead yet, you're healing. You're like, okay, let me get inside this, the perimeter of the outpost and whatever. And let's just say little Timmy decides to kill you. And I died here, right? Well, in the outpost, it is known that when your bag is inside the safe zone, nobody can loot it. Why is that important? Because if you gathered all this loot and all the components from around in these junk piles, I mean, let's just face it. You're going to be like, oh, I got all this stuff. I was trying to take it back to my base, and now it's whatever. This guy killed me. Well, he can't come in here because now he's wanted by the outpost, and your bag's in the safe zone. Thus meaning you come from your, high ground base back into the perimeter, grab the loot bag with all your loot, and you're able to kind of stay in the outpost until little Timmy goes to bed, or if he just leaves. So that's why it's important to build at the outpost, on top of all the wonderful utilities you have here to utilize when you're trying to get scrap and whatnot from recycling. Now, do remember, this is only one good base location. I'm going to show you other one right now, okay? And that's kind of like a little summary. Now, with the perimeter here around this outpost, it saves you a lot of grief. And if you can't farm junk piles along roads like this to get components to craft weapons and stuff, you could always stay on the perimeter of the outpost to get those components and run back to your base. Now, another good place to do that is Bandit Camp. Now, do remember, when you're building a base, it doesn't have to be around the outpost. In general, when you're getting griefed a lot, it's good to have a base around there, maybe like a 2x1 or something, just to collect the mats or components. But if you want to build next to a good area, well, A, you don't want to build in the newbie zone at all. So let's just say over here somewhere on the coast is the newbie zone. Don't do that, because advanced players come and attack you there. And B, set yourself up for success. Build by the outpost, but maybe not so close, maybe a little bit out, because you're going to typically have monuments that you can go and loot and get more components and advanced weapon parts in order to progress through Rust faster. So here's the deal. Outpost is a good safe zone to build in when you're trying to learn it, and so is Bandit Camp. The problem in this scenario, and this won't be with every, is that they're so far apart. Each has their own type of utilities, but the outpost, I kind of gave you a little general summary. So we're going to go down to Bandit Camp now, okay? So you can put your ping down, and we're going to fly over there. Now, the Bandit Camp is awesome. You can purchase weapons there and unique items or deployables for your base. And I don't know, overall, if people shoot you there, the bandits will kill them. So it's a less stressful, less contested area. Now, do remember, it works just like the outpost. If somebody shoots you within this perimeter, these bandits will take them out, or if you shoot them or attack them at all, they'll shoot you. Oh, and I forgot to mention an important piece to this entire puzzle, and that's basically when you're in the outpost and say you shot somebody on accident, or you know, it was a reaction and you hit somebody on accident. If the outpost kills you, you have to wait a half hour to get your loot bag. And guess what, despawns in a half hour? Your loot bag. So the same applies here in the Bandit Camp. So if you are wanted by the outpost, you're wanted by the Bandit Camp. Anyways, all right, so let's look at that Bandit Camp in general, what it looks like, and from above, and then we'll talk about why this is one of the best base locations to build around, and then I'll get into the biomes and generally speak about the resources that the biomes offer, and also what are the pros and cons to each one. All right, so the Bandit Camp. Here in each one, a little, I call them shit shacks, but in each shack, you'll have different vendors. Each vendor will, present you different items, and you buy those items with scrap. Okay? So if you just do a little lap around here, you could just see all these little shacks and whatnot, and what you could do in the Bandit Camp is pretty awesome when you're a beginner player. So you'd build your base on the high ground on the outside of the Bandit Camp and kind of work the barrels on the inside. Oh, pro tip right away. This paddle is definitely one of the best farming tools in a safe zone, only because it's not counted as a weapon. But other things that you could use inside the safe zone are like rocks. You can switch to a melee weapon to hit a barrel, but you got to switch maybe to a bandage in another place in your hotbar or something real quick, because you only get 5 seconds to 5-second warning when you're farming stuff inside of a safe zone. So, all right, let's just show you an example of the vendors around here. All right, so said vendor here, yeah, I brought scrap, and then basically this one in particularly, you could sell red cards, blue cards, green cards, anti-radiation pills, high-quality metal, metal frags, and this, and then that's how much scrap you get per item. So you can gain scrap by selling items, or you can use scrap to acquire items here. And why is that good? Because some of these vendors have stuff that the Outpost doesn't have and that people typically can't get their hands on unless they randomly find it in a junk pile around the map. Now in this case, all this stuff are like, Dropbox is a deployable that goes in your wall. This is a deployable. All these are deployables besides the road sign gloves. And it's pretty cool because you can take your scrap and just spend it on what you want here. In this case, the best item here is the locker. You always want that because you can switch out kits fast. But generally, that's what you get when you come here. There's different utilities like research tables, recyclers, and whatnot here. But that's just kind of a little general summary of what the Bandit Camp has to provide. There's also barrels inside the water, like little mini junk piles, or food. And you'll find these little resources as a beginner to pick up off the ground if you don't know what you're doing. And it's pretty useful when you're first starting off to know these things, just because, if you don't, you're going to kind of be upstream without a paddle. So, okay, that's just a general summary of the Bandit Camp and its perimeter, just like the Outpost. But let's go visit the biomes real quick. That way we can get an idea of some of the best base locations. All right, so the very first biome I'm going to start off in is going to be, we'll just say the green zone, okay? So just for future reference, I do have a monument guide that you guys can go look at. And what I like to do as I'm kind of an advanced player because I got thousands of hours in the game. I want to get the most components I can quick for free without having to use an access card. Some of the best monuments for that are a water treatment plant, satellite, and where is it? Where's the dome? Why am I not seeing this? And the dome. If these three monuments are next to the Outpost or the Bandit Camp, you're already winning. Okay? Because typically they render the most components and weapons parts to progress through Rust a little bit quicker, at least up to the tier 2 level. Now tier 3 is your like launch site, power plant, and whatnot. And then airfield's just kind of a perk if it's next to one of these, the Outpost or the Bandit Camp. But so you want to build somewhere that's has a lot of components and whatnot, and you want to progress fast. My favorite spot is the dome. So I'm going to fly over there real quick, and I'll show you. Now, this is just a general summary. I can go in more depth about it and explain each monument, but I got videos for that. So I'm just kind of burning through this quickly so you get the point of what I'm trying to touch. So, okay, say the dome is next to the Bandit Camp or the Outpost, for instance. Why is the dome important? Well, when you're first starting off in Rust, what do you need? You need a furnace to smelt your ores to get your resources like metal, sulfur, high quality metal, even coal from wood. But in order to get that furnace, you're new and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get a furnace. Well, to get a furnace, you need low-grade fuel, stone, and wood. Low-grade fuel at the dome is free. There's no access card to this monument. You can go underneath and farm these barrels with this little oil droplet on there, like so, and I'll show you. And then basically, you get one crude oil, one low-grade. When you get it, it's 16 and 7. So that's a good pull from that, It's pretty useful at the end of the day because you will progress and be able to smelt more ore that you farm quickly because you can get all the low grade from the dome, take it back to your base, or you could use it for a variety of things. You could use it for vehicles in Rust in general, boats to power boats, and there's other perks to the dome as well. But do remember that when you go inside the dome, when you're looting it, there is some rad in there, which is rad is short for radiation. So typically I like to have at least 15 to 20 radiation protection, and how you know how much protection you have is that it has a percentage next to the radiation sign here. So it's like protection from, radiation. Duh. If you're first starting out in Rust, I would bring a bow and a crossbow here, or even a yoke pistol with some wind armor and some maybe leather clothing or cloth clothing. And that way you can kind of be protected against the rad. You want 15 to 20 rad protection, give or take, and this is typically contested. So the dome has a variety of jumps, and I'll show you. It's very intricate what they did with this. So for this monument, you can loot it and get all the stuff in it, but you would start at this pipe, right? And I'll get my crossbow out as a pointer. Go up here. You go to the top. There's some wooden crates available that you can loot. Then you got some more beams here as well, with some barrels and more wooden crates all through here. Now inside the dome, it has like 3, I guess, I don't know, 2 floors on the inside. You got the first, second, and I guess you could count the third there. And why this monument is so important is because after you loot the crates and the barrels, you get to the top and you get what's called a military crate. Now, I'll touch this briefly, but military crates equal tier 3 loot. Anything in a military crate is tier 3 loot. You'll find like metal pipes to craft guns. You'll find high quality metal to reinforce your base, and you'll even find tech trash to make your most expensive explosives on here. Just to generalize what they're for. So if you can build next to this, that's awesome. If you can't, and it's not around the outpost, there's other little monuments around there. Like, for instance, we got Oxum's gas station, which is pretty easy to loot. And there's a couple of them here. So you can hit those up for components. But you want to pick the best spot or the best base location that fits your level of knowledge, I guess, for Rust. So if you're a real beginner, this is what you need to know. But if you're a veteran or you're like a chisel chin Chad, then you don't really know this. You know what the heck you're doing. So that's pretty much some of the best base locations you could build by, at least in my opinion, is the Outpost and the Bandit Camp. Other places, if you're an advanced player and you can get by, are going to be like your natural water or natural freshwater streams. The reason for that, and we'll fly to one right now. Hold on, let's find one. Let's just pick one so you know what it looks like. We'll just pick this one. Now, say you're an advanced player and you're like, Razor, like, we get it, dude. We know where the hell to build. And we can visit the desert biome too as well. Now, remember the green biome offers a lot of things. Before I leave it, it's just trees, stone, metal, and sulfur. Mostly the wood there is in abundance, so you can throw a base up quick. But we're going to visit the desert biome, and I'll explain why it's important as well while we're visiting this freshwater stream. Woo! We're talking a lot. I hope you're paying attention. All right. So, where is this thing? Okay, I gotta fly across the water. Actually, there's one right next to the launch site. Nah, I don't want to go over there. So, okay, freshwater stream. Why is it important? So, the reason why a freshwater spring is so important is because it's freshwater. It's infinite water. One of the major issues you have trying to survive in Rust is you don't have enough food and water. Well, by freshwater streams, this is one of the best base locations because when you build next to this, because you can use the water to grow things such as like cloth, pumpkins, corn, and whatnot. And you can use it for infinite water for your character, right? So that's why this is important. Now, the food that's available around this freshwater is pumpkins and corn. When you eat these items, you get the seeds for them. The seeds can be used to grow later on down the road, and basically you can have your own farm inside your base, especially if you're near here. Now, a lot of new players, well, actually, let me rephrase that. Not a lot of new players build here the right way. The way I would do it is kind of pick a piece of high ground right above it, and then kind of build my farm in my base rather than gathering this type of food, right, on the outside in not a safe perimeter. So I'd come here, lay down a base, have like a little wall, or maybe leave a square open in the foundations on the inside of my base, and then I'd take the seeds from that, plant them, or I'd get like a, for instance, let me show you. Where is it? There's like a crop plot that you can have, and I just want to show you, for example. Here we go. Or a large planter box that you can have inside your base. And there's a small one as well, depending on how big your base is. But you can use that to grow items inside your base. So you don't have to actually take the foundation out. That's how we used to do in old school Rust. But anyways, long story short, that's why the freshwater is so good. So build next to it. You got unlimited food and whatnot. And then the problem with that is here I chose one that doesn't have a road next to it. Now, if you could pick one like this that has a road next to it, roads equal junk piles. So in order to get components and progress through Rust, I would build here, unlimited food and water, and run down to the road to collect components, and then take those components and go to the nearest monument or the outpost or bandit camp to recycle the components. Does that make sense? All right, so anyways, let's talk about the desert biome and what it has to offer. Well, one thing it has to offer is, I could tell you, not a lot of trees. But typically you'll have a lot of sulfur here, or like metal. It'll be one or the other, at least what I've noticed in my years in Rust. Now, if you're looking at it, I think, let me see if I can find it for you guys. Here we go. You can see all these stone nodes around here. You see an abundance of stone here. I don't know if that resource is more abundant than most, but you'll find some metal, some sulfur, like I was saying, but you'll find the majority of the nodes here will be like stone. At least it seems that way. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. But that's why I think it's pretty good. And also, it makes it harder for people to raid you because they dehydrate here quicker. So if you know how to live and you're next to a freshwater stream on a piece of high ground, you're already winning. Okay, so that's the desert biome in general. Okay, so what other biome we got? We did the green, showed you what's up there, how it's got an abundance of trees. So let's go to the snow. Now, in my experience in Rust and for the years I've played, and forgive me if you're just joining in on the video, I can fly. This is my server, so this is what I got to do to get around quicker. But in my years of Rust, one of the best places to build, but it's the most advanced place to build, meaning it's the hardest. You got to kind of be ready for the environment, and that's the snow biome. Why is it hard to build there? Well, it's freaking cold, the first off. Second off, you typically don't have a lot of good monuments there. Now, sometimes with procedurally generated maps, the outpost has a chance to spawn there, but in general, it doesn't, and neither does the bandit camp. So you're kind of upstream without a paddle again. But you will find other monuments such as like Oxum gas station, mining outpost, and whatnot, or maybe at the edge, the abandoned supermarket. Now, one of the best spots to build is the snow, but not directly in it. Okay, now what does the snow have? The snow has an abundance of all three node resources, right? Stone, metal, and sulfur, and especially sulfur because it's so rare to find. But it's lacking in trees, right? So it might seem like there's a lot of trees, but put 100 like players on this map trying to all chat it out and sweat in their mom's basement, and these trees are going to be gone most of the time. This is where you're going to find most of your Zergs, most of your really advanced player teams out in the snow biome, right? So it's going to be kind of hard to get ahead when you don't know anything about a game and then you're trying to build in the hardest spot to build in. That's not even counting the weather, okay? But I'm trying not to miss anything for you guys, but the best spot in the snow is to build on the edge of it. Why is that? Now, if typically in the snow, if you could build next to, in this case, I'll just use this for example, if you could build by a monument, like Bandit Camp, and then by the edge of the snow, you're in luck. Now, the reason why that is because that's two of the best biomes in the game that are next to each other, that offer completely different resources and abundance that make you get ahead for building. Now, tons of nodes inside the snow biome, and crappy weather, but then you have the green forest biome here, right? That offers a ton of wood. So the lack of wood in the snow biome is right next door to the green forest biome that has a lot of wood, but not that many nodes, right? So that's where I think you should build. If you're a beginner player, on the outside of the snow. Now, typically big Zergs build on the inside, right? On the inside of the biome because it's harder to get to them because you got to bring a vehicle like a boat on the coast to them and then run in, or you got to run in on foot, and it's really hard because you have to survive, and you can't even be, you have to be full health, full food, full water. You have to have med pens, bandages, and typically med pens, that's tier 2, so you'd have only bandages just to go raid a base in the winter biome. You can see here, look, I am literally geared, and I'll bring the camera out, with like a chest plate and clothes, gloves, wolf helmet to keep me warm, and I'm still freezing, right? So that just goes to show you how rough the weather is, and that plays a big role in raiding a base. You got to take weather in consideration. You got to take the environment. Typically bears up here are a little rampant. Like, you can already see one here, and I've not even taken like 10 steps in the winter biome, and those are good for low grade fuel because you can kill them and get the fat from them and combine it with cloth. But in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is the best base locations are going to be near Bandit Camp or Outpost, and then as you advance through Rust, actually you can start to build away from those because you can learn more about the game and stack your knowledge and be like, okay, well, maybe I build by a freshwater stream this wipe, and then see where it goes and see what I'm lacking in resources. Because anywhere you build, you have to take in consideration, you need components, you need resources for a base, you need crafting, well, like I said, components for building weapons and like armor and high advanced weapons as well. So you have to take all that into consideration when you're building a base, on top of the location of the actual physical base, which is going to be, you need a high point, which is always the best to have. That's arguable only because a lot of people say if you build in the canyon, when people descend down it, it's hard for them to jump back up and get out of there. But needless to say, that those are all things and knowledge that I have from my experience in Rust. Now, am I going to be right about everything? Am I going to miss a few things? Yeah. But typically, those are the basic things you need to know about the best base locations. And that's high ground, near monuments, near some safe zones if you got to fall back, and maybe, a couple places where where the best resources are in Rust. That's it for me. I appreciate you guys stopping by. If I missed anything, just let me know. I'm your boy Razor from RazorTube, and that is the best base locations for Rust that I can think of right now. But hit me up in the comments.